Hey guys, welcome back to Predicta Restoration Tips. This is a blonde pedestal model that I restored a while ago, and during the final checkout I noticed a couple issues. One of them was a very wobbly head. The other was a flaky tuner, and I said at the time that I would get back to it one of these days. Well, that day has come. I think I know what the issue is with this. We'll find out for sure in a bit, but in order to do it, you do have to pop the head off. And this applies, I believe, to the 17-inch as well. There are 4 screws underneath this. Hex head, 1/4 inch, I do believe, that secure the collar to the mounting assembly inside of this. I think that's loose. So if you look carefully at this, as I'm rocking it back and forth on the top, this base is not wobbling. Now, if the base was wobbling, there are 4 screws up under here you can tighten. I've already done that on this set, so I know it's not that. But there are 4 more up inside here. And finally, if that doesn't do it, that's the worst such scenario, because then you have to take this band off and get inside here and check. There should be, sometimes they're missing, there should be a screw about here and about here that partially hold this together. Also make sure that the bolt underneath this cap is tightened. I think this one's a little loose. This arm should not be able to move like that. So I'll be tightening, that's a 5/16 inch hex head. I'll be tightening that down as well. So we gotta get this off, and notice how it's Phillips screw, but the plastic has drooped down. It's another indication that something's not quite right. In order to get that out, rather than just start to back the screw out and have it dive into the plastic, you gotta tilt this up so you can get access to the screw without it smashing into anything. And then, yeah, you gotta pull the cable, so fortunately I gotta go through that too. The ones going to the chassis, you'd have to pop off. It's always that high voltage lead that's kind of a pain to do, but in order to do this job right, I got to take all that apart. And while I've got this head off, I'll also clean it, because, well, you'll see this is often the scenario, or a thing you see with these, is people clean these up on the top. They don't get underneath here, so you can clearly see it was cleaned, and they never cleaned underneath down here, and they never cleaned down here. So while I've got it off, I'll turn it upside down and get the rest of these scuff marks off. I just use car detailing products like Scratch X, and then buff it out, or use Novus number 2 as the final step. But to clean it and get this gunk off, I use car cleaning products. It's not painted, it's just plastic, molded plastic, that this color is the same throughout the plastic. Here it is decapitated. It does give me a great opportunity to clean this up, put on some fresh grease. As for the CRT, well, here are the screws. I took one out just to test, and they are all tight. But it is crazy wobbly on this back side here. You see how filthy it is. I'm going to have to take this apart. I think the harness inside is not tightened down properly, or there's something up. There's something up with this. It's a drag. I thought that this maybe had never been opened since it was made, but something's not right. And after putting so much work into this, and it's such a nice set, cosmetically, I figure it's worth the effort to just finish off these last final touches. Yeah, it's a pain in the ass to do, but if you're going to restore one of these sets and you've gone this far, you might as well finish the job. It certainly gives me a chance to clean the CRT, which, yeah, it's dirty. Now, I knew this was a replacement. It's great emissions, 21 FDP4. It's the upgraded recommended replacement. And what do you know? When they put it back together, they didn't put the screws back in. Should be one here. There should be one here. It's what helps tie the plastic to the metal band around the CRT, and without it, you get that, well, it weakens the integrity. That's why they're there, to hold this thing together. So, of course, when we place those, I'm also going to flip this over and take the back off. There are straps. You can see they're coming down here and up here. On the back there's a couple tensioning screws, just like this band around the outside. I want to make sure that everything is tight. Ah, idiots. They just put those screws back, tightened everything down. I wouldn't have had to do this, although I guess gives me a chance to clean it. I was hoping to avoid it because this is pretty clean as these go, but yeah, the inside, it'll look better in the end. The owner will be much happier with this all sparkly and clean, so I'll go and do it. But you take things apart, take notes, take photos, save all the screws, and put them back in. Looks like this was actually replaced under warranty. It's a 21 FTP4, alright, but it's a Philco. And I want whoever installed this fired because they did a terrible job. It wasn't just the two screws up front, but as I suspected, the straps. Look how loose that is. It's not doing anything. These are like suspenders. They're supposed to be tightened down that holds the CRT secure. No wonder it was flopping around. There's hardly anything holding this thing in place. Ah, man. It's also disgustingly filthy on the front. That's, I'm sure, from cigarettes. Ah, boy. Well, hey, you know what the problem is, so we'll tighten everything down, clean that cover up, and put this all back together. As far as how tight should they be, snug. Snug. Don't go crazy. I mean, this is metal on glass. They give you a little bit of a paper insulator between the two for a little bit of a stress release, but just snug. We're seeing it flopping around. Yeah, about like that's good. Now back to those missing screws up front. If you are missing them, this is what you want. Some panhead Phillips number 7 by 3/8 inch. It may seem like a minor thing, but it really does help tie the plastic to the metal frame and eliminate some wobble and some creaking. Alright, I finished polishing up the screen, cleaning the CRT face, cleaning the CRT housing. It's time to put it all back together. Now as for the tuner, again a bit of a pain, but to do it right, unmount the whole thing. Take some reference photos, disconnect all the cables, take out all the screws, and clean it. And this 21-inch models, there's this little fastener down here. My buddy and I would really like to know if anybody still makes these. He found a company, I can't remember what they're called, Wesco or something like that, that in the 50s sold replacement fasteners, and they were called tri-mounts. But I can't find anything equivalent to that today. A rivet thingy in the middle, little flat-bladed screwdriver, pop that guy off, and then this slides out, blow the dust out, brush the dust out, and here's what you got. Don't mess with anything. What you want to do is clean all of these switch surfaces. So there's a circular track running around, and then there are various contacts around the perimeter, and they're on both sides. There's a lot going on here. Rather than just spraying deoxit all over inside, I sprayed onto the end of a Q-tip and then run the Q-tip around the surfaces. If I was doing this a lot, I would get a little bottle of deoxit rather than a spray can, but this is what I've got, so that's what I'm going to work with. And while I've got it open, it's worthwhile to check these power resistors. There's 3 of them in there. In particular, there's 1.8. I've seen this guy fried on a few of these. And then just visually inspect it. I've seen these guys blown open in a couple of these. Those are the capacitor resistor network, isolation network components, those red guys. And lube it up. Scrape, flush the dried grease out of this and put some new grease in there. There's a little roller ball in there. Those are your detents, if you care about the tuner being operational anyways. And here's your fine tuning. Get a little oil in there. It'll run a little bit smoother. And then we'll put it all back together. I finished polishing up the CRT housing and put it all back together. Now if I try rocking the top of the CRT, instead of it shaking, the whole cabinet shakes. In other words, it is rock solid. So that was well worth the time. Not just to fix the wobble and geez, that loose strap, that I haven't seen anything that bad before, but it also gave me a chance to clean it. So all I gotta do is put the cover back on and put the knobs all back on, and this guy is done. This is perhaps the nicest pedestal I've ever had the privilege of working on. The original paint finish is in really nice condition. And a very bright picture tube. Alright, oh yeah, and the tuner. So after the cleaning, no problem. Change channels and it just works. So hope you find these tips useful. Thanks for watching.